That's okay. We'll goof off for a second, and then I can edit all that out while I get ready here. Thank you, Mark, for the encouraging words. And I'm here to tell you, you would think that he and I discussed what he was going to say this morning and what I was preaching on, but we did not.
No.
Okay, so I'm not preaching for 2 Timothy, but it segues right into this part of John 17 that we're going to be in here in a minute. So grab your Bible. Hopefully you brought one. If not, bring one next time. And go to John chapter 17. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So we're going to start today's message with a question. For those of you who watch or read the news, which is probably most of us, do you ever feel as if the world is against you and you're the only faithful person left? Think of Elijah, right? He wipes out the prophets of Baal, and then Queen Jezebel says, I'm going to make you just like them. In other words, it's a death threat. What does he do? He runs away. And then he complains to God, I'm the only one left. Right? Do we ever feel like Elijah? Or what about the disciples who are listening to Jesus tell them he is about to be arrested and executed? See, I think they felt that way. I think they felt like they were going to be isolated, they were going to be alone. In fact, we know they did because when Jesus was arrested in the garden, they all ran off, right? So the disciples felt, I'm sure, that the world had come against them as Jesus was telling them of his impending execution. So in John chapter 17, we see how Jesus prays for those 11 remaining disciples, and of course what he says about Judas Iscariot. And next week, we're going to look at how he prays specifically for us. So this week, this part of John 17 is specifically how he prays for the 11 disciples. But what he prays for them is also applicable to us today and the world situation, whatever you want to call that, which is, well, it's pretty confusing, isn't it? So I want you to go to John chapter 17. We're going to read verses 6 through 19. I have manifested your name to the men whom you have given me out of the world. They were yours, you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they have known that all things which you have given me are from you. For I have given to them the words which you have given me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came forth from you, and they have believed that you sent me. I pray for them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. Now I am no longer in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Holy Father, keep through your name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. Those whom you gave me I have kept, and none of them is lost except the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. But now I come to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also have sent them into the world, and for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also may be sanctified by the truth. The words of Jesus praying for his disciples. And I've got just enough breeze here, keeps blowing my Bible around and my notes around, so this should be fun. All right. We'll go like that. Look at that, I've got a page and a half of notes. We might be here till 12 o'clock. Try not to. There's a key word in this passage, and that key word is the word keep or kept, since they're both really the same word, right? One is future tense or present tense, and one is kind of past tense sounding. To keep or kept means to attend carefully, to guard, to take care of. How many people out here or out in YouTube land keep a garden? Raise your. I don't keep a garden because, well, I'm not very good at it. How many people actually keep a garden though? Raise your hand. Somebody here? Somebody keep. Come on. Some people keep a garden of some sort. Or how about a lawn? Do anybody keep a lawn? Yeah, I'm not even good at that. Okay, right? That's why I don't have a lawn in my house. I have rocks, pumice, right? Well, what does it mean to keep a garden or to keep a lawn? What do you have to do? You have to take care of it, don't you? You have to water it, weed it, fertilize it, harvest it if you're growing vegetables or fruit or something like that. Okay? It means you have to take care of it. And that's part of the problem with me and gardening is we plant a garden and then we go on vacation. Come back and it's dead, right? Okay. Keep. And Jesus here says that the disciples have kept his word. They have been hanging on his words for 3 years, and they finally, in the previous chapter, so probably within a few hours of this prayer, have recognized who Jesus is and recognized the truth of his word or words. Jesus also reminds them as he prays that God will keep them. God will guard them and take care of them. Jesus made God known to them. He manifested God to them. That's what that word manifest means, to make known. So what Jesus did for the disciples and for the other disciples, the big group, and for all believers throughout history is to make God known to us. He took the mystery away, the veil away, and made God, and he was God face to face. So Jesus made God known to them. That's what manifested means there, right there in verse 6. And the disciples guarded and attended to the words of Jesus, as I said. Let's take a look at John chapter 16, verse 30. So I always have to go back one page, at least in my Bible. When Jesus says, Jesus says, eventually, I'm no longer going to speak to you in figurative language. I'm going to speak to you straight up. In verse 29, his disciples said to him, "See, now you are speaking plainly and using no figure of speech. Now we are sure that you know all things and have no need that anyone should question you. By this we believe that you came forth from God." Finally, after 3 years, the disciples are with Jesus face to face, and it takes them 3 years to come to this conclusion. Don't go any faster, that thing's going to fall apart. Anyway. That looked like one of them Gambler 500 cars going on. Racing numbers painted on the side of the Geo Metro. Anyway. That probably has a $1,000 stereo on it too. Okay. Now I'm getting off track. After 3 years, the disciples recognized the truth. They listened to his words, and now it's starting to make sense to them. Starting to, right? And they say, "By this we believe that you came forth from God," because they see that he knows all things, and there's no point in questioning him anymore. So they began to guard and attend to his words. They laid hold of his word and believed, kept. They laid hold of his word. To lay hold of something is to grab it and not let go, correct? Has anybody ever had to climb one of them, do a rope climb? Right? The rope hanging from the ceiling or hanging from, whatever, yeah. And you got to, scamper your way up a rope. Well, what happens if you get, most of the way up and let go? You're going to get hurt, right? Yeah. You got to lay hold of it all the way up, and even when you come back down, you got to lay hold of it. You got to hang on to it. If you let it slip between your hands, you get a rope burn. That hurts. I've done that before. Right? You have to grab onto it and not let go and believe. So that's what he's telling the disciples. Keep the word. Lay hold of it. Don't let go of it. Believe it. And we're supposed to do the same. We are to keep his word and believe. In this part of this prayer, okay, I got to move this rock. The rock on my podium, keep the paper down. In this prayer, Jesus also recognizes he is not ensnared by the sinful world systems. He recognizes that of himself, that the world has no hold on him. And by the world, we mean the systems of sinful man. And we have all kinds of systems, don't we? We have well, technically we live in a constitutional republic, but everybody wants to call it a democracy now, and right now we're just living in chaos, right? Some countries live in a communist system. Some countries, people live in a socialist system. They're all systems devised by man. Our economic system is devised by man. And our systems at some point all become corrupt and sinful, don't they? All you have to do is read the news. You can't believe what you're reading in the news because you're really not getting the truth. You're getting somebody's idea of what they want you to hear, and I don't care who your news source is. I've been involved in enough things that have been in the news and read them to realize that even the people who are giving the information to the news agencies aren't giving them the truth. Our systems are corrupt because they are run by sinful men and women. Jesus grew up in such a world system. You had the religious government of the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Jewish religious leaders. They had become corrupted. You had the military government of the Roman Empire. That was a corrupt system. Jesus grew up in that. He grew up in a time of chaos. He grew up in a time in which some of his countrymen and others in the Roman Empire were in a constant state of rebellion against the Roman Empire. They were rioting. They were murdering. In fact, the man whom the Jews demanded that Pontius Pilate release, instead of releasing Jesus to freedom, they released a man by the name of Barabbas, who was an insurrectionist, a murderer. This is the world that Jesus and the disciples were in. But yet Jesus says we're not ensnared by that sinful system, are we? They were not ensnared by it, and neither are we. He prays that we will be secure in the Father while we remain living within these systems. He does not say, Father, take them away today. It's quite clear. Verse 15 says, I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. Jesus is not saying, Father, keep them from harm. Because evil things happen to good people, don't they? We've had it happen to a member of our own congregation right here just 2 weeks ago. Got slugged in the head for not wearing his mask outside. That's an evil act. What Jesus is saying in this prayer is that we would be protected from evil within ourselves, to keep us from falling back into that evil world system and becoming just as evil as anyone else. We're not supposed to act like them, are we? You can say what you want about the young man in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I kind of feel bad for him in a way. Or the guy that was murdered in Portland last night at the counter-protest of the protest or the riot. Jesus does not call us to armed confrontation with fellow citizens, does he? No, he does not. He prays that we will not fall under the influence of the evil one. he knew. He knew that these 11 disciples, most of them would be martyred for their faith. He even told some of them that was going to occur. He knew that they would be persecuted, and he told them it would happen. He did not pray for it not to happen. He prayed that Satan would not spiritually take them down. And we got a lot of things in our world today that spiritually can take us down, don't they? A lot of it's found on the internet in multiple forms, isn't it? There's other things that can spiritually take us down too. Alcohol, drugs, envy, greed, jealousy, gossip, all those things can take us down. Jesus prays for those disciples and for us, we will not be taken down by them. Jesus prays that we will be secure in the Father while we remain living within these systems. He does not tell us for all of us to go join a monastery or a nunnery. If we did, we wouldn't be sitting here, would we? He does not tell us to totally isolate ourselves from everyone else and from everything else. We can't do it. He doesn't tell us we have to be so picky about where we spend our money we can't actually shop anywhere. Because if you base upon who you do commerce with based on their corporate moral stance, you won't even be able to go grocery shopping, folks. He prays that we will be secure in our salvation, in God the Father, in Jesus Christ, while we remain living within these systems. So if you believe otherwise, you need to take all the cash out of your wallet, you need to take all the cash out of your bank, give it to somebody else, I don't need it, and not ever accept a paycheck, a piece of cash, use a debit card, use a credit card. Just live totally off the grid completely. That's what you would have to do, right? No, we are here to be within these systems. Let's look at the word again. We'll start in verse 13. But now I come to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. There's another key word. Put that one in your head. I have given them, the joy that is, I have given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Not of that system, right? We're outside of it, but yet we have to live within it in this life. We have to make a living in it within this life, don't we? And yet, we're supposed to have joy, even when the world seems to be crashing down around us and our society is disintegrating, I'm telling you. At least in the big cities, and it does trickle down here a little bit, doesn't it? But yet, we're supposed to have joy. Christians are not supposed to go around with frowns on our faces all the time, angry at everybody around us because they're stupid. Well, they might be. Like some of them are. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to put that on YouTube. Some people are just downright stupid. But yet, we're supposed to have joy. Because we're not eternally locked into what's going on today. We're supposed to have joy. And why is that? Jesus already told us back in John chapter 16 and verse 33. Let's take a look at that. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. Notice, in Jesus Christ you may have peace. In fact, in Jesus Christ you will have peace. in the world, so the contrast is, in the world you will have